This is an audio recording of the article entitled Effects of Hurricane Ivan in the Lesser Antilles and South America from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia at en.wikipedia.org. This article was recorded by user Fleury Voru on July 11th, 2008. Effects of Hurricane Ivan in the Lesser Antilles and South America. The effects of Hurricane Ivan in the Lesser Antilles and South America included 44 deaths and over $1 billion in damage, primarily in Grenada, where it was considered the worst hurricane in nearly 50 years. Ivan developed from a tropical wave on September 2nd and rapidly intensified to become a major hurricane, passing through the southern Lesser Antilles on September 7th, with winds of 125 miles per hour, or 205 kilometers per hour. At the time, its tropical storm force winds extended outward up to 160 miles, 260 kilometers, with hurricane force winds outward to 70 miles, 110 kilometers, and the northern portion of the eye passed over Grenada. In the region, the worst damage occurred in Grenada, where the damage total of $1.1 billion represented 200% of its GDP. The hurricane damaged more than 14,000 homes in the nation, and 30% of the houses in the nation were destroyed, which left about 18,000 people homeless. A total of 39 people were killed by the hurricane on the island. Elsewhere, moderate damage was reported in northern Venezuela, where at least 3 fatalities were reported. 1 person died each in Trinidad and Barbados. The name Ivan was later retired. Table of Contents. Section 1. Preparations. Section 2. Impact. Section 2, subsection 1. Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. Subsection 2. Grenada. Subsection 3. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, and northward. Section 3. Aftermath. Section 4. See also. Section 5. References. An info box entitled Hurricane Ivan, Category 3 Hurricane, is displayed in this section to summarize the information presented in the article. Areas affected: Windward Islands, especially Grenada, Venezuela. Date: September 2nd, 2004. Highest winds: 120 miles per hour, or 195 kilometers per hour, for 1 minute sustained. 135 miles per hour, or 215 kilometers per hour gusts. Fatalities: 44 direct. Damage: $1.1 billion in 2004, or $1.25 billion 2007 US dollars. Section 1. Preparations. Early in the duration of the storm, the National Hurricane Center consistently forecasted Ivan to track further to the north than in actuality. Late on September 5th, the government of Barbados issued a hurricane watch for its territory. Shortly thereafter, St. Lucia was put under a hurricane watch, and Grenada and its dependencies were put under a tropical storm watch. As the hurricane approached the southern Lesser Antilles, more watches were issued, and by 24 hours prior to Ivan passing through the island chain, a hurricane warning was in effect for Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Tobago, and Grenada, and a tropical storm warning was in effect for Trinidad. With the path of Ivan more southerly than predicted, the hurricane warnings were downgraded to tropical storm warnings for the northern islands, and by late on September 7th, when the eye of the hurricane passed near Grenada, hurricane warnings were in effect for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, and Grenada. Subsequently, a tropical storm warning was issued for the northern coast of Venezuela through the Guajira Peninsula of Colombia. On Venezuela, citizens in coastal areas of Sucre and Isla Margarita were moved to safer areas, and several thousands were evacuated due to the hurricane. The Simón Bolívar International Airport, as well as 3 other mainland airports, were closed. Petróleos de Venezuela S.A. temporarily closed its oil refinery in Curaçao, and 2 ports were briefly shut down. This caused a delay in 2 oil deliveries. The Valero Energy Corporation shut down its largest oil refinery in Aruba. Prior to the arrival of the hurricane, oil companies in Trinidad and Tobago ceased production and removed workers from offshore rigs. The Atlantic LNG Company closed exports. 7 shelters were opened on Tobago, where about 560 people evacuated for the storm. Most evacuees were from low-lying areas, and on the day of the storm's passage, most schools and businesses were closed. The 2 main airports in the country were closed, with 1 airline canceling all of its flights. Over 1,000 people evacuated to emergency shelters on Grenada, including hundreds in low-lying areas and in the capital city. Some shelters were damaged during the hurricane, forcing the evacuees to go elsewhere. Overall, the population responded little to the official advisories and recommendations, which potentially contributed to the death toll on the island. More than 1,000 residents of St. Vincent and the Grenadines evacuated to 28 emergency shelters. On Barbados, officials closed schools and government buildings and prepared shelters prior to the arrival of the hurricane. To minimize danger, the island power grid was shut down. 4 shelters opened on St. Lucia, where many people sought safety during the storm. Section 2. Impact. Section 2, subsection 1, Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. Along the northern coastline of Venezuela, the hurricane produced heavy precipitation and a storm surge of about 13 feet, or 4 meters, which damaged 60 homes. Sustained winds on Isla Margarita peaked at 26 miles per hour, or 42 kilometers per hour, and the most affected states were Vargas, Aragua, Carabobo, and Anzoátegui. Rough waves capsized 10 boats and closed several beaches, and 1 person drowned due to the surf. Further inland, 2 people drowned due to an overflown river, and near Caracas, a man died after strong winds toppled a wall. The combination of rainfall and winds destroyed 21 houses and blew the roof off of several others, affecting 1,376 people, of which 80 were left homeless. Power outages and lack of water were reported. In the country, the passage of the hurricane caused 127 injuries, and a death toll reported between 3 and 5. An initial news story reported 28 people missing offshore on 3 boats. Moderate wind gusts of up to 46 miles per hour, or 74 kilometers per hour, were reported in Tobago, which downed several trees and caused power outages in 7 villages. Power was cut to more than 30% of the island. 20 villages on the island suffered various forms of damage, and at least 45 homes lost their roofs. The hurricane left 22 people homeless and directly impacted about 1,000 people. The hurricane caused 1 death when a falling tree killed a woman. Wave heights were estimated at 65 feet, or 20 meters, and at least 1 home collapsed and fell into the ocean. Rainfall from the storm's passage unofficially peaked at 16.2 inches, 411 millimeters, on the island, which caused some mudslides. Some crop damage was also reported, and overall damage on Tobago was estimated at $4.9 million. Damage in neighboring Trinidad was minimal. Section 2, Subsection 2, Grenada. Passing just to the south of the island, Hurricane Ivan produced strong winds on Grenada, with sustained winds reaching 120 miles per hour, 195 kilometers per hour, and gusts peaking at 133 miles per hour, 215 kilometers per hour, at Point Salinas International Airport. The airport recorded 5.26 inches, 134 millimeters, of precipitation during the hurricane's passage. Of the nation's 6 parishes, the 4 southernmost ones were most severely affected, constituting 80% of the total population. The strong winds impacted more than 14,000 homes in Grenada, with 90% of the nation's houses damaged, and of which 30% were destroyed. The capital city of St. George's was severely damaged, where every major building was either damaged or destroyed. Its passage either damaged or destroyed 85% of the structures on the island, including the nation's Emergency Operations Center and a 17th-century prison which allowed many inmates to briefly escape during the height of the storm. The hurricane damaged or destroyed 75 primary or secondary schools, with only 2 left in working condition. All of Grenada was left without power or running water. Tourism was adversely affected. An estimated 60% of hotel rooms were damaged. The winds downed 80% of the nutmeg trees on the island, with other crop losses varying between 60 to 90%. An estimated 18,000 people were left homeless by the hurricane, and about 700 people sustained injuries from the storm. Ivan was considered the worst hurricane to strike the nation since Hurricane Janet in 1955. Its passage resulted in 39 fatalities and $1.1 billion in damage, about 200% of its GDP, and of which about 45% resulted from housing damage. Section 2, Subsection 3, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, and northward. Wave heights from the hurricane reached 20 feet, or 6 meters, along the coastline portions of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which washed away 2 homes. The storm surge destroyed 19 homes and damaged 40 more. On Union Island, the winds damaged the roof of a hospital, while the northern portion of the island sustained heavy damage from the waves. Moderate damage was also reported on Palm Island and Caracou and Petite Martinique. The winds left more than 2/3 of the island without power and also damaged the island's banana crop. Damage in the country totaled $40 million. On the island of Barbados, sustained winds peaked at 69 miles per hour, or 112 kilometers per hour, while gusts reached 92 miles per hour, 149 kilometers per hour, which damaged many trees and roofs. A total of 531 houses were damaged, of which 43 were completely destroyed. Additionally, 4 hotels sustained some damage. The winds left most of the island without electricity, though officials worked quickly to restore the power. Rainfall from the storm was light, remaining less than 1 inch, 25 millimeters, in most areas. Storm surge and wave action caused beach erosion that severely damaged most coastal roads. 1 death was reported on the island, and damage was estimated at more than $5 million. Strong winds and a rough surf caused moderate coastal damage to southern portions of St. Lucia. The combination impacted houses near the coast and also led to losses in the banana crop. Minor roof damage was also reported, and damage totaled $2.6 million on the island. 3 serious injuries were reported on the island due to the hurricane, though no fatalities were reported. In Dominica, winds reached 43 miles per hour, or 69 kilometers per hour. High waves from Ivan caused light damage to southwestern Martinique and Guadeloupe. Section 3. Aftermath. The government of Barbados created a Hurricane Ivan housing recovery project, which repaired or rebuilt 190 houses for people without the available funds. Around 90 homes required minor immediate repairs, while the rest required significant reconstruction. The project finished in early 2006 for a total of $5 million Barbados dollars, or 2.8 2007 US dollars. Several nearby countries assisted Grenada in its aftermath. The government of Guyana shipped about 250,000 US dollars worth of sugar, as well as 100 members of the Guyana Defense Force to assist in restoring order and reconstruction. The government of Trinidad and Tobago sent 190 policemen, and the government of Anguilla sent 1,230 cases of water. A committee of Caribbean nations realized the local governments could not provide the support that Grenada needed in its aftermath, and thus turned to international assistance. Within a day of Ivan passing to the south of Grenada, the United States Agency for International Development deployed 67,600 gallons of water, 500 rolls of plastic sheeting, 4 10,000-liter water bladder kits, and a water treatment kit. Assistance from the USAID totaled $6 million within a few weeks of the storm's passage, primarily in aid for reconstruction and rehabilitation. In the weeks subsequent to the hurricane, the European Commission Humanitarian Aid Office provided €3 million. By a year later, housing redevelopments and disaster preparation problems continued after being impacted by Hurricane Emily. As a result, the ECHO provided €1.2 million to Grenada in September 2005. 9 months after the hurricane, Chinese officials provided assistance in reconstruction and handling foreign debts after meeting with the Grenadian Prime Minister. In 2007, Chinese officials funded the construction of a new $40 million cricket stadium near St. George's. The Caribbean Development Bank approved a $10 million loan requested by the government of Grenada in July 2005, which was intended to assist in long-term development of the housing, business, and environmental sectors. Emergency operations in Grenada, in coordination with the Pan-American Disaster Response Unit, ended in July 2005. Within a few days after the hurricane passed, the Grenada Emergency Operations Center temporarily prevented relief supplies from entering the country to ensure the safety of the incoming items. The decision was reversed shortly thereafter, and planes flew supplies during daylight hours into the reopened airport. Severe looting occurred in the immediate aftermath of Ivan, prompting police officials to enact a curfew for the night hours. In the first week following the hurricane, aid was slow to the affected residents, due to the lack of an efficient aid distribution system. 30 official shelters and 17 prepared ones housed over 5,000 people in the aftermath of the storm. Thousands of people lost their jobs due to the hurricane, with all businesses shut down following the hurricane. By 2 months after the hurricane struck, 65 schools were opened, some of which serving as shelters. Water and power were gradually restored to the island. By a year after the storm's passage, all schools were reopened, and most buildings enacted provisional repairs. Officials determined around 10,000 houses on the island require complete reconstruction, while a further 22,000 needed repairs. The government of Grenada initially planned to rebuild 1,000 houses in the year after the hurricane struck. By June 2005, 260 families were provided houses, with a further 85 under construction. The government also established a material assistance program which provided $5,000 of free materials to more than 5,000 families, as well as a total of $4.3 million in low-interest loans to 148 families. Several indirect fatalities occurred in the aftermath of the hurricane, primarily senior citizens. Section 4. See also. Hurricane Ivan. Section 5. References. There are references available in the written form of this article. Please be sure to verify information found on Wikipedia using the references provided or cross-referencing the information yourself. This sound file and all text in the article are licensed under the GNU Free Documentation License, available at www.gnu.org/copyleft/fdl.html.